Okay, hi everyone. I am Jeffrey McCullough. I'm chair of ASID New Jersey Student Week. I'm a practicing designer and also an adjunct professor at Berkeley College. We've had such an awesome week so far. I just want to remind the participants that there are two more programs tomorrow. There is a 10 a.m., which is called Working with Vendors and Navigating the Trade Environment. It's all about how you establish yourself in the trade environment and set up accounts and work with vendors so that you can best utilize their services. It's not a product display, it's a service display. And then at 11:30, we have the very dynamic Kia Weatherspoon from Washington, D.C. as our keynote presenter tomorrow. If you've never heard Kia speak, you're in for a real treat. If you've heard her speak before, you're still in for a real treat. And everyone, if you would, I will put the link in the chat box in just a second after I turn the program over to our moderator. And I'm going to put the link in. If you want to register for tomorrow's programs, you can still do that at the ASID New Jersey website. But for tonight's program, we're very excited to have Tammy Bolden, who is an allied member of ASID and also on our membership committee for the ASID New Jersey chapter, as the moderator for a panel discussion on residential design featuring three acclaimed designers that Tammy will introduce in just a second. If you would, I'd appreciate it if everyone would make sure that your computer is on mute so that we don't get background noise during the presentations. And then for those of you who are speaking, make sure you hit unmute when it's your time. So Tammy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. So we are in for a treat this evening. We have three esteemed panelists who are going to talk about residential design. But first, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Tammy Bolden, and I am the principal for Bold Interior Designs, which is a boutique design firm located in Montclair, New Jersey. And we specialize mainly in kitchens and baths, although we do other spaces. That is our niche, if you will, and as well as renovation project management. And that basically means I work with investors who flip houses. So that's a little bit about me. So I've hoped you enjoyed the panels this week. We've covered some great topics, and we're going to learn a little bit more about one of my favorite areas of design, residential interiors. Like I said, we have a wonderful panel of professionals who are here to talk about their journey in design and their design philosophies and give a brief presentation about their work. And we will start off with my former boss, Danielle Palmidessa. This is a full circle moment because I worked with Danielle right out of design, actually when I was still in design school. So for Danielle, I'm going to talk about Danielle. Full of creative energy and innovation, Danielle Palmidessa sets the design vision for her firm, DRP Interiors, based in Bergen County, New Jersey. Her enthusiasm and passion for design process is infectious, and she approaches each project as an exciting new adventure. Her talent lies in her ability to envision a dream space for her clients from the moment she enters their room. Danielle believes each client's home should reflect who they are and how they live, and ultimately elevate their quality of life. Her innate ability to refine the client's vision and apply her expert design skills results in beautiful projects, happy clients, and many referrals. She infuses each project with her trend-setting style and her in-depth design wisdom while adhering to the important principles of interior design. Danielle and her team guide clients through every aspect of every phase of the design process and are committed to providing them with superior support and communication. She enjoys the relationship that develops over the time of the project and has developed lifelong friendships with her clients. Danielle's exposure to the construction industry began at an early age with her family's business. This motivated her to pursue interior design at the New York School of Interior Design. And during her junior year, she interned for the prestigious architectural firm Robert A.M. Stern and eventually went on to win a design competition for her commercial design class. This became an actual project and involved redesigning a large New York City corporate office. As a result, this success ignited Danielle's desire to launch her own design firm, DRP Interiors, in 1994. Danielle spent the next 20 years in New York City, being influenced by the amazing world of design and everything it has to offer. DRP Interiors is an 8-time ASID Design Excellence Award-winning firm. She's an allied member with ASID New Jersey and is committed to inspiring the next generation of interior designers through mentoring opportunities. She is currently the co-chair of the Design Excellence Awards, which is an annual event that celebrates the diverse talents of the ASID chapter, professionals and students. So now that is a little bit about Danielle. Danielle, take it away.
So I'm going to be sharing my screen for Danielle today. So
I'm Pamadessa Lynch, and I'm the owner and principal of DRP Interiors. I'm also so thrilled to be a part of the 2021 ASID Student Week and to share my design journey with you. I want to send a special thanks to Jeffrey for inviting me to be a part of this, Tammy for moderating, and ASID NJ for supporting designers and students through the years. This year, I'm really excited. I'll be co-chairing the 2021 ASID Design Excellence Awards, which I'm really honored because I'm also an 8-time Design Excellence Award winner. And I want to encourage any of the students listening to please enter your projects. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And thank you, students, also for being here and giving up your time. So I specialize in residential interior design, and I have a design studio in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, which is only about a mile from my home and really convenient because I have a very busy family life as well. I'm not really sure if I consciously chose to go into residential design or it chose me, but you will learn a little bit more about that when I tell my journey. When Jeffrey asked me to do this, I started to create an outline of my life, and it made me realize the importance of my education and how far I've come since then. Ever since I could remember, I've always been creative. I love fashion. I love design, and would spend much of my childhood playing with my Barbies and in designing elaborate homes for them. Many of them would even have a pool in a guest house. My family's business was interior demolition, so I was exposed to the world of construction, architecture, and design at a very young age. I used to love to look at the blueprints with my dad when he would bring them home for bidding, and I imagined one day maybe I'd be drawing these myself. So 1991, I began my formal education in interior design at New York School of Interior Design in Manhattan. For the next 4 years, I committed myself to my studies and followed my dream of becoming an interior designer. My favorite place to go in my spare time was the D&D building, or the Decorator and Design building. I used to love to get inspirations from the beautiful fabrics and furniture I saw there. And I was really excited to see like the new windows in the lobby. I was inspired by all the latest design trends that I would see in all the showrooms. When I look back to when I was a student at New York School of Interior Design, a few things stand out to me. We did not have AutoCAD yet, and so all of our hand drafting and lettering was done by hand. And I remember it was very tedious, but it did teach me how to be precise and structured. The second thing that stood out to me as a student was my furniture design class. I loved this class. This is where my passion for furniture design began and continues now. I've been designing custom furniture throughout my career for my clients. In this project, I had to create a built-in media cabinet that was angled to allow for viewing, as a sectional could not be centered on the TV. And I could never find something like this in the market. So I love the fact that I could design exactly what I need for the vision I'm having. And here's another example of a bar I designed for a client. The principles of interior design was my third class that really stood out to me. This class was important to me because it was the closest thing I had to my aha moment where everything clicked. No room is complete without including these principles. To this day, I incorporate these principles into every design project to create my final product. So this is a room that I did that is an example showing balance and symmetry. So we have a pair of chests, 2 mirrors, everything is aligned and centered on the fireplace. And the chairs give the room symmetry. The next photo is the back part of that room. So what I did was I aligned the height of the bar with the art on the right to create balance. And then there's contrast with the textures as well as the contrast of colors. So we've got the satin brass as the repetition, but then you've got the black, the gray, the white, and the gold. Moving along with my timeline as a student, my junior year, I was accepted for an internship at the architecture firm of Robert A.M. Stern. He was a leader in postmodern architecture and really one of my favorites. I was very passionate about postmodernism. As an intern in a small design division, I worked on Michael Eisner's home, which was really special. And it was in Aspen, Colorado. He was also CEO of Disney at the time. My job mostly consisted of creating albums of furniture, photos, and fabric cuttings for the client and cataloging Polaroid photos for every furniture selection. Yes, we did use Polaroids then, and it wasn't for aesthetic. It was the best we had. In the spring of the same year, I won a design competition that was run in my school, Commercial 2 class. This became an actual project and involved a redesigning of a large New York City corporate office. My parents encouraged me to incorporate myself, and in 1994, DRP Interiors was born. Ironically, that same client contacted me a year later about designing her penthouse apartment on Central Park West. I feel very fortunate that I was able to have this opportunity. This dynamic businesswoman was a mentor to me at the beginning of my career, and I will always be grateful for her believing in me and giving me the chance. She referred me to a friend, and little by little, my business began to grow. This really catapulted me into my career as a residential interior designer. I learned how to run my business along the way, made many, many mistakes, but I learned from each mistake. And I think that's part of growing. I created my list of trades by walking around the city and writing down addresses and numbers of the vans I saw in front of all the fancy buildings. I figured if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So moving forward, I spent the next 5 years in Manhattan, worked on many projects and invaluable experience with each job. In 2001, I decided to move to Hoboken so I could have more space and a home office. My business continued to prosper in New Jersey, and I was so thrilled. I hired my first intern from FIT, who eventually became my first employee and a long-term employee too. I developed a client following in the Millburn Short Hills area of New Jersey. I started doing paint consultations in Millburn after being hired to do one paint consultation, and they used to call me the paint lady. So that was a little nickname. But then they realized I also do interior design, and I started to get projects from these same clients. In 2003, I moved to Montclair to be closer to my growing clientele. After the move, I realized I could no longer run my business on my own. So I hired more employees and even a bookkeeper to support me and my business. I found my best employees were good communicators, anticipated my needs, were flexible, and worked well with others. I think like the team spirit in a firm is very, very important. Still today, I surround myself with positive people who support my vision and are committed to improving and growing DRP Interiors. Okay, my final move was 2011. I moved to Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. By now I was married, my wonderful husband, Michael, had 2 children, and another year later we had our third, and then we made 5. I'm so grateful to my children and for my husband for their support and patience with me. And sometimes my life can be very chaotic. So just in case that wasn't enough to keep me busy, we also rescued 2 adorable dogs. And I love my kids because they really keep me up on current trends. You know, in this business, it's very important to be relevant. And for example, my daughter just today told me, hey, mom jeans are back. You got to get a pair. So who knew? Speaking of chaos, I believe my creative chaos is what has made me so successful. I approach each project as an exciting new adventure and cannot wait to get into the new space. My talents lie in my ability to envision a dream space for my clients. When I enter a space, I'm intrigued by the possibilities and what it can be. I never know when inspiration will strike. It can come from an artwork, a pillow, an accessory, or even in an existing piece that the client has to keep. The best way to explain how I work is I kind of work backwards, I guess you would say. Sometimes the boldest items in the room could be the inspiration items, but in the end, they are actually the final pieces that are the added touches that make the room so successful. Not all clients can understand your vision for their space sometimes. So I sometimes offer them visual aids along the way, like the sketch I did for this client. It really helped her to better see my vision. Form and function is especially important when designing for families. This bathroom is actually my own master bathroom, which I really designed for our needs. We needed tons of storage. And when I designed it, I literally found every nook and cranny I could to, create places to put things. My entire family uses this bathroom, so I really needed it. And it just emphasizes the importance of storage and customization to make your quality of life better. When I design, I'm genuinely concerned with the client's wishes. I don't want to create just a beautiful room. It has to be functional and enhance my clients' lives. Having the right chemistry with the client is very important to me. If you don't have that chemistry, it doesn't always work. I feel like, this is my office. When I design, this is my office. This is our new office in Franklin Lakes. Running a successful design firm here with my 6 employees can be very challenging. There are lots of moving parts, and not to mention there are countless problems to solve on a daily basis. If I could give you advice about running an interior design business, I would emphasize that design is only about 10% of what you will do. Running the business is the other 90. Our industry is ever changing. And like I said, it's very important to stay relevant. I consider myself a lifelong learner, and you should too. Keep reading, keep watching podcasts and things like that, just to keep growing. Over the years, I've learned that nobody else knows my business better than me, and have created a business model and process that is unique to DRP Interiors. Every project requires precise planning. Over the past 10 years, I've been trying to streamline our process with clients from concept to installation. We have come up with an 8-step process from beginning till completion here in the video, in the slides. You could also view this on my website. Our process incorporates visual presentations such as floor plans and color stories and fabrics and look pages. Includes the furnishings and accessories sometimes too. This could be done remotely, and it has been very helpful during COVID-19, as the other designers would know too, and the clients just love it. We also include sending clients cuttings of samples so they could actually touch and feel the fabrics. At this time, I'd like to share one of my projects from last year's Design Excellence Awards, which I won a Gold Award for residential design. This project included a total transformation of an outdated dark living room, dining room, as well as a basement that no longer functioned for the family's current needs. This room's color scheme was really inspired by the client's important art collection, which you can see on the wall on the left. This dining room was a big challenge. It had low ceilings, insufficient lighting, and an off-center window. We solved the problem by centering the light fixture and table on the windows, and then with the void space, we filled it with the 2 chests and the settee there, and it just gave you a visual balance. This basement was outdated and dark and no longer functioned for the family because the kids had all grown up and didn't need a playroom anymore. We put in comfortable seating, a bar, a game table to accommodate these changes. The master bath was really a big change, and this client has a very stressful job. I feel like it created a relaxing oasis and a place to just feel like you're somewhere else. In closing, I would like, if I could go back and speak to my younger self, I made a list of some things I would tell myself. I guess of all of these, the one that resonates most with me is number 7. Believe in yourself. If you don't, no one else will. So thank you for allowing me to share my story, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. That was wonderful. Trying to see if I can. I think, am I back on the screen?
Am I too dark?
You are, Danielle.
Well,
Tammy, you're on the screen now.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Danielle. That was wonderful. As I mentioned, I worked for Danielle while I was in design school and right after design school, and I learned so much. Like she said, she mentioned how she, her processes that she's been perfecting over the years really was beneficial towards me to getting my business started. And please remember to put your questions in the chat box. We're going to try to get to all of the questions after each of the presentations are done. So now we have Alan Tanksley. Alan is a premier American designer specializing in residential interiors for more than 35 years. He has created unique environments that exemplify the classic principles of thoughtful design and decorating, informed by a modern sensibility. With a degree in interior architecture, Tanksley began his career with the venerable firm of Parrish and Hadley Associates. His next employer, the legendary Mark Hampton, will become his mentor as well as a lifelong friend. Tanksley would later partner with colleague Paula Perlini to form the influential firm of Perlini Tanksley Associates. In 1993, he established Alan Tanksley Inc., which is a boutique interior design firm offering comprehensive residential and bespoke furniture design services. Among the renowned architects he has collaborated with are Maya Lin, James Dayton, Guy Grassi, and Robert Orr, most often developing projects from concept to completion. Allen prides itself on client-centric approach that achieves luxe interpretations of contemporary living. The ATI team has successfully delivered distinguished projects throughout the United States, England, and France. ATI has created remarkable designed rooms in the prestigious New York City Kips Bay Decorated Show House, as well as show houses in Southampton, New York, and Palm Beach, Florida. The firm collaborated with developers, Alchemy Properties, and Sotheby's International Real Estate to design an internationally praised 3,500 square foot model apartment in Manhattan's iconic Woolworth Tower. I'm sure that's stunning. ATI's projects have been featured in numerous publications as well as several books. So now we will have a presentation by Mr. Alan Tanksley.
You ready? Am I on?
You're on.
I'm on. I can't see myself. Hi, everyone. Alan Tanksley. Thank you for that introduction, Tammy. I'm going to start things off with love your glasses. You win the best glasses on the house award. Jeffrey, thank you. I've known Jeffrey for years, and it's an honor to be here. And I'm so proud of you, Jeffrey. I've seen you grow and participate out there a little bit at school, and you all have a wonderful man. Listen to every word he says. Then I'm going to move here. I'm writing a couple notes as I go as well. Danielle stole a little of my flame. Thank you very much. We're somewhat contemporaries, although a little younger than me she is. As I go through, you'll see a few things that might come up. So I'm going to start off. We're talking about, my journey, and mixed into it will be design philosophies and so on. So I hope this, this will help some people out. It's not as linear, perhaps, but more conversational. I'll start off by saying, and like a lot of other people, I didn't come from a world of design. Now, I know my mother's on this. Her mom came from a wonderful place, but it wasn't New York City. It certainly wasn't the highest end of design that I ended up with. But I started out like many people outside the city. Moms will recognize this, as will others. Wonderful. I went into school. I always thought I was going to be an architect. Went out to Arizona State University and to study architecture. That wasn't so good for me in terms of my dreams at that point, but then this is one example of where flexibility started with me. I went into the School of Interior Design within the architecture, and I really found my voice there. And when I came to New York, I came in right behind the ears. I didn't know Mark Hampton. I didn't know Albert Hadley. I didn't know the world that existed that was before me, as no one does. I entered, after school, I threw this one in. After school, I spent some time at the beach in preparation. So I moved to New York, back to New York. I was going to live in California and be there and start my career. But New York beckoned, and I'm so glad it did. When I came to New York, I'll say that I had among the best stories I can think of with introductions and again, into a world of design that I had no idea existed. I came to New York with my portfolio, and Danielle, I'll refer to you, back in the world of hand drawings. It certainly was not, that was so far in the future that we didn't know from it. So these are examples that I came in with my tweed portfolio, examples of my work in hand drawings was really important, and graphics and so on. And this is where I will say to those of you who are coming into the business, you put your best foot forward. Obviously, whatever it is that you're presenting, you want to look your best. So I put a lot of attention to this, and it got me a job, and got me among the best jobs I can imagine. But it's curious because I had not opened this portfolio in 25 years. and I was kind of good. I'm proud of myself. No, it's the 1980s. I step into Mark Hampton, and imagine walking into this room and this world, and it blew my mind. What I did with Mark Hampton is I spent 5.5 years there, and it was important for me to develop and maintain an importance within that firm, as it would with anybody. You know, people say often in school, you may have heard this elsewhere, you know, don't expect to have, you know, the real design work. It's going to take you years, you know. And I'd have student groups. I'd talk to people as students, and you know, I would repeat that. I guess about 15, 20 years ago, I stopped saying that because that's not fair and it's not true. What is really important is to learn how to do this business. There is much creativity in getting the job done. So creativity on how do you get from point A to point B? How do you support the people around you? Just bring all of this in. Make yourself invaluable to the person who is hiring you. Talent, you know, included, these making oneself essential gets you to the point where you're invited to participate in the design. So that was a process, and I was very glad to be there. I learned the basics again. Danielle, you sort of stole some of my fire, but you got there in written form. You know, it's about scale, proportion, quality, craftsmanship, communication. All of these are the tools that will live with you forever. So whereas I came into this world and drank it up and really, you know, sort of felt that that was going to be a future of mine in terms of style. As I moved through my professional career, these tools maintain themselves in every iteration that I had, whether it was traditional or if it was contemporary, or if it was anywhere in the mix of that. So the first few years where you're being told that it's, you know, it's not the creative work, I'll tell you, it's so creative. Getting the job done is creative. That said, that's a really important thing for me to mention to those of you who are coming into it. And be patient. You're learning a lot. And the people around you are learning a lot about you. That's very essential. After spending time at Mark's, Paula Perlini was working there as well. I was in the side of business where I was working with contractors, we'll just call it the architectural side of things. We were building, we were drawing, we were meeting with the whole aspect of building the place. The other department was decoration. When we coincidentally left the business at the same time, not intending to be with each other, and that's, you know, my talents and her talents had always jived, and it was kismet. We started out in 5 or so years, worked together, and and we really did develop together. So if this is a picture of some of the work that we did, now you can see all the influence of the world of this design. There are a lot of details, a lot of sort of wonderful exuberance of maximum. There's a lot of study in here. The bookcases that are drawn are based on Biedermeier designs, lots of reference to what I had learned at Mark Hampton over the years. Now, as time went on, I was increasingly interested in the whole picture. So what I was doing at Mark Hampton's and I was doing with Paula then evolved into I wanted to start with the project and end with the project with all aspects of design, decoration, building, etc. So as time went on, the voice that I started with, which didn't know of this, began to come out, which eventually led to the point where, on very amicable terms, we separated. But you know, at the end of our time together, we did a place in Palm Beach, a show house, and that's this slide. Now you can see at this point, if you look at the former slide, and you can see the Mark Hampton slide I showed you, this is the beginning of paring it down. The elegance in there, the details, the antiques, the oversight on the floor, the richness of the fabrics. This is all elements that we've been working with at Mark Hampton. We've been working with our clients for the last 5 years, but now the excess started being pulled away from, pull it back. And this really reflected my personal style and as it would develop. So again, what you see is these are scale, proportion, craftsmanship, and the assemblage of a room as a vision, as balance and scale. And again, Danielle, many of the things that you talked about with repetition and coordination of these things. Oh, I want to go back to the point you mentioned Polaroids. Some of you might not even know what a Polaroid is on here, but it's just amazing because now we have such great presentation formats. But you would send a picture in that little format, and it might be a $40,000 cabinet. Show it to a client, and hopefully that client would buy it from this tiny little picture. It was kind of amazing, different times, so simpler in a sense. So this is the end of my career with her, although, and she continued along that vein. And then the reference that I make, if you go back to this, to the simplicity, but still opulence of this, a more recent, very recent project in my career is the Woolworth Tower project that I worked with the developers and so on. Now, this is quite different than that was. But you can see again, these are these are the elements that I nurtured and maintained. I believe, and I think a lot of people agree with this, that once you learn these things and you study them and you exercise them, you might decide to bend them. You might decide to break them and go somewhere else. I will tell you, you can only do that once you know them, and once you know them thoroughly, and once you practice them. And so that's a real cornerstone of my design and so on. And here we have custom carpets, custom furniture. I love designing furniture. I love designing carpets. I haven't delved into fabrics yet, but that lies ahead of me. I'm sure it does. So here we are again at the Woolworth. I had the great good fortune of meeting people along the way that eventually led me to having introductions to a world that would be the Woolworth. I think the Woolworth actually physically is a pinnacle in New York, but this represents one of the pinnacles in my career. Eventually, I got to the point where I had quite a project, quite an office. This was right in the corner of 23rd and 5th. I spent 12 years in this office. I can't tell you, everything in here we designed or I designed, and this became my living, breathing laboratory. And the world passed through my windows. It was a great representation of my life and my design. And it was a lot of fun to be there, whether it was clients or not. I will point out to you that as many desks as you see here, this is 1988, I just built things out. And what happened in 1988? The world crashed financially. So there was a point where a lot of these desks looked just like that every day because my client roster went way down, and but we survived. And that brings up a point that there are ups and downs. My career has had surge at certain points, and my career is very, very lean at other points. And again, it takes a lot of patience to accept that, and I've never thought I would fail. And so that's a great thing to hold on to, because sitting at the end of this office and looking down at a number of desks that have been vacated because of this time, that was tough, but it never got to the point where I felt that this was the end. So, it's an interest in design, it's interested in business. Oh, and this is another thing that Danielle, I'll make sure and I compliment you on saying that, and this is a little bit off topic of the office, but I often say, and people often in our profession talk about what we do here in interior design, and the reaction is so very often is, "Oh, that must be so much fun," and it is, but it's also a business, and it's first and foremost a business, and it is so important to get your business act together. Danielle had mentioned a bookkeeper as one of her employees. Probably one of the key employees will be keeping your business going. There is a world of people who can afford us, of the small world of people who can afford us. These are some smart folks. They're often money people. Get your financial vocabulary going. Have your communications about finances crystal clear, because it is business first. to the people who are hiring you. The end result is obviously meant to be beautiful, but I can't emphasize how much that this is a business. And again, the 10% of creativity, 90% business. There's a lot of creativity, dodge the bullets, and keep things moving, what have you. I'm almost done with my presentation. This is my former apartment. In this case, I had myself as my client. I've been picking things up that I liked over time. I don't know if the client would ever allow me to do this, perhaps, I'm not sure, but this is the point where I actually got to express the things that fascinated me. You want to delight the eye. You want a place for the eye to rest. You can't just keep barraging you with things. I'm not sure if that is true with this picture. There's a lot in it. But I'd say, Danielle, keep your eye, when you have a chance to do for yourself, really throw yourself into it. As I say to clients and to friends and so on, the last thing you see at the end of the day is where you live. The first thing you see when you wake up is the same thing. Put your back into it, and this has been influential to people who are both friends and clients. It's really important. Our living environment is not only representative of the beauty, what have you, whatever your version of that, but it represents what we want to give to ourselves. And that's something I want to leave you with, to share with your clients and so on. And these are even with friends and family who may not be clients. The emphasis on design and how it influences our life and enhances our life is paramount to those of us who find it that. Anyway, here's my closing. That's how you spell my name. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. That was wonderful. It's amazing you can see the evolution of your design style, starting with Mark Hampton and then to your later works. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful. Again, please post your questions in the chat. I'm going to start off with a couple once we're finished, but just if you would put your questions, we'll get to them when we are finished with our next presenter, Satomi Yoshida-Katz. So let me read her bio. Okay. Satomi Yoshida-Katz is an international interior designer celebrated for her refined, culturally eclectic design style. With projects as far as Australia, Italy, Japan, and throughout the United States, her boutique design studio approaches the design of stylish hotels, resorts, restaurants, corporate offices, and private residences with a sense of curiosity and a variety of design experiences. Satomi has traveled wildly, absorbing experiences and ideas from people, fashion, music, and cultural phenomena that are evidenced in the form and aesthetic of her work. Satomi specializes in bringing the project's identity and the client's vision to the forefront and engages them through the entire design process. Her goal is to create sophisticated and inspirational environments that reflect the client's lifestyle and values, all delivered within their budgets and schedules. Her work has been featured in design exhibitions and has appeared in leading design publications worldwide. She has contributed her talents to a collection of home and office accessories produced by a design-driven manufacturer line of products that have been sold into MoMA, the Guggenheim, and other museums and contemporary interior shops throughout the world. Satomi holds a bachelor's degree in interior design from Iowa State University. She is an allied member of ASID New Jersey and Metro New York chapters, and a member of the U.S. Green Building Council. She is also a member of the Color Marketing Group, which is the premier international association for color design professionals. For 8 consecutive years, she's received the Best of House Award. And she has numerous TV appearances in Japan, including a 5-day series of the documentary Discover Human. Rounding out her recent projects in Japan, Satomi conducted a lecture series for the leading retailer of the of interior furnishings in Tokyo and the Interior Decoration Association in Hiroshima, Japan. Now we have Satomi.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight. My name is Satomi Yoshida Katz. I am the founder and the interior designer for YZDA. YZDA is forms, I have a very much of the histories. My journey as an interior designers and design philosophies, this is without my life experience and then coming from Japan's and landing into the US. Without those stories, I cannot express how I become the interior designers. So I like to today's a little bit of a talk about my background as a Japanese, how I landed in the US, and then become the interior designers. So maybe I'll just go. So this is life journey that I took, education and career experience. Over 1988, I decided to come from Japan to the US as a single independently. One of the reasons is that I was in high school up to then. I was not able to attending to the medical school that I really wanted in Japan. I decided to explore all about just the curiosity coming to US and wanted to be something so different than rest of the Japanese people. I wanted to explore English as my second language and come to US. And then landing into very, very small community in Minnesota first. In the 2 years, I studied the liberal arts, where I was trying to be studying English first. I wasn't came here to US for the becoming an interior designers. I was just wanted to straight to find out who I am and discover myself and also just learning in English. While the 2 years of that, I was in learning in the liberal arts, studying philosophies, business. I was
Satomi, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we don't see your screen.
Oh, you don't? Okay,
No.
I'm sorry.
Oh boy, I thought it was
Can
me.
you see?
We see you now, but now we see your screen.
There you are.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. So this is I'm going back. So this is my journey as an interior designs. This is me. And now just kind of pointing out to the screen for the map here. So starting out to the, just kind of going back and then came to the Minnesota. And then I went to, while I was studying for the liberal arts, I had a lot of foundations for not necessarily just studying subject matters, but also I needed to really learn English because when I came to the US in 1988, I just had one suitcase and one big dictionaries. That's how I have none on speaking English, starting from hello to starting over. So I wasn't able to studying those 2 years and then moving to the Iowa State. How that happened is that while I was in studying in Minnesota, I explored much of the different countries. I went from Minnesota to study abroad. I use a lot of abroad skills to go in Czech Republics, Austrias, all the different countries taught me to very different cultures. That's when I landed and I said, wow, this is so different. I was in Japan and looking for the Japanese structures, now going to Czech Republics, Hungary's, and then now came to US and it's beautiful and inspired by architecture and interior design. After that, that's where I went to the Iowa State in 1994 and then starting to 1990 and then starting to doing the interior design studies. I was in the interior design schools and mainly, just going through the color studies, lighting design, furniture layouts. The school taught me so much about the interior designs, and also just the excitement of what a world to be creating a human space. I really enjoy being schools. Only the one thing is mainly Iowa State, why I chose to the rest of the schools. They are at the times very technical driven. Iowa State has a technical department that taught me how to do AutoCAD. At that time, everybody's in 1990, hand sketches, draftings, and very much of the hand skills. But the Iowa State taught me toward the end of the semester, have a very much of a technical skill. That's where I have able to find a company, the architectural company work in Seattle. And then I can just show you too. And after the Seattle, I have these diagrams that are moving us or the life difference, but I just wanted to go. Once I graduated from Iowa State, I was actually not in residential, I was in the corporate design company called NBBJ in Seattle, Washington. They do the Kingdoms, now it's closed, but they do the bigger project. Kingdoms, I work on this Starbucks corporations. But of course, when I was out of schools, I was in the task to be resource libraries, field measurement, model making, and it's very importantly, AutoCAD. All those AutoCAD skills, without AutoCAD technical skills, I was never be able to getting this project from NBBJ. Also, after the NBBJ, I did intern and entry-level positions. I was able to moving into the smaller company because I always wanted to have my personal visions was to be on, someday I like to own my business. But then what I can do, being an NBBJ architect was really large corporations, and then tons of the architects and tons of designers. I chose to be now the, because of I wanted to do the business in mind, I went to move to the smaller company, boutique company. Now that they are more focused on the hospitality design, mainly casino, hotel, resort. I did GSA, government project, healthcare, and a multi-family unit. These are the projects that actually, after I left it in corporate world, I became independent in the year of the 1998. The reason is become the independent is I got married and then I have children. I decided to just wanted to move forward with designs, and went to first project that gave me from Colorado was this wine story project. And this is my first project that I ever executed. And then these are the restaurant projects. Because of my background as a Japanese, a lot of people ask me to be able to do the Japanese restaurants, or where sometimes the restaurant business this is Italian business, Italian restaurants. So the career experience starting from 1995, working for the larger corporate environment, and then the life just started to change. 1998, got married, I have children. I have started my own business then. Because of my husband, the fashion business, his business is constantly move from one place to the other. So I decided to just become an independent again, and then from California to Colorado. Finally, I landed here in the New Jersey and the New York area, 2005. And then a few years ago, I opened a Tokyo in Japan, the office. So the philosophy of me is basically my philosophy of design is learn from my experience throughout these life experiences, creating beautiful timeless interiors and exterior space. But it's of course, it just has to be beautiful and functional. That's very much a base. But the client is the economies, budget, timelines, very essential to me. So I like to kind of talk about a day in my life in the interior designs. Interior designers has many roles. We wear the many hats. Every day is just dynamic and the work is very different. One day I'm the researcher, one day I'm the coordinators, one day I'm executing and then creating the custom pieces, one day I'm the drafters. I am the freelance designers and I'm an independent. So every task that I allow is I'm gonna working on an everyday task, very different dynamic. So when I was putting together these portfolios, what is an interior designers? Interior designers to me is both, we have to have both art and science. It's not aesthetic and creative visions, but also we have to have a technical skills. If you do have your own management skill, that have to be really important skill as well. And interpersonal communication is also very important. To me, is the English as a second language. So the communication that I develop most to be compete with who is a native speaker of English is that I was able to always listen, very good listeners, and how to execute and implement. That's how the communication skills develop. And then also, most importantly, of course, heavy accent I have now too. So communications and visual, this is a very important part of my design expressions. Presentation skills very important. And also many of the different stuff is good to make decisions, and then why, the reason behind it is very important. Without, the thing is very important is that I didn't learn from the school, is that very important, this field is very much of the team and collaborations effort. Without any of the partnerships, I cannot work. Even though I'm the freelance designers, I do always constantly work with designers, architects, vendors. They are always the greatest helps of collaborators. And then at the site, your site is make sure that's doing well. Then contractors, everybody's gonna be there. So then it's many different interpersonal skills, creative skills, technical skills is very important. And also understanding health and safeties, your building code. As interior designers, oftentimes people are thinking, well, interior designer is just decorating. That's not the case. Our profession is to understand how safe it is to your environment is, and how healthy it is. What kind of air are you breathing? What kind of couch are you sitting on? Very important, those technical skills, it is very important. Now the technology is very much of in hand. So if you have the schools now, everybody's have a technology, that's what you have to be really understanding. Now the smart home is everywhere, and in design solutions or the space planning, those are the one of the technical skill as well. As a business owners, very important is the management skills, time, schedules, budget, and the job site management. And the most important one is the commitment. You have to commit to do all the tasks. And then marketing, sustainability. Sustain the business is one of the most difficult things. Whether you're gonna be doing very great technical skills or you are very creative designers, but also you have to be sustain the business. How? You have to be really great at creating marketings, great visions for the business. And I do the one part of it is that very much of the global visions. And then I very appreciate the local action as well. So now that my portfolios I wanted to show you. This is my portfolio from the New Jersey residents. Many of actually clients that will be asking me, not much of my aesthetic is the Japanese aesthetic. I have a very simple lines and all using the surprises in the space, playful colors. That's the feature of the space. So these are the space that I create for each client. And then this is very unique because dining rooms and they wanted to have the wine space. So I just wanted the designs and exactly how I wanted to be designs. because it's important for us to be listened, what's the client needs and how we execute it. This is a very interesting, client has this art piece, and then this room was developing one art piece, and then they asked me to develop. I took the colors, form, shape, everything into this space in the entrance. We do a lot of detailed drawings, technical drawings to be how to communicate with client. For me, it's just putting as much of detail as possible so that at the site has no questions. People executing to have everything in the details that I can visualize and show them. That will be make it the client is most comfortable, and also we can rely on the all the details of design as well. And then now that this is just a progress in 2021, is current one. I work on this Short Hill project in 5 years ago. Now the client came back just because client has the escape in New York and New Jersey while it's COVID times. They purchased an Armani Casa residence in Florida. So now I'm started designing this new project. But very important for me is the client is always come back. Many of my clients is repeating and trust, and then trust our decisions and visions. Those clients will always come back and execute, will ask us a new project. This project is a very unique project. We do the whole space of this unit on the 65th floors. However, this is most challenging was the smart home technologies. I lay out the lighting designs and the layout. Lighting is very key element of the interior design space. Of course, the furniture and the space is important, but lighting is very important. But then this client is for asking for the smart home technology with the lighting to the window coverings to mainly because of this is their second home. So they wanted to have a very much of the security into the smart home. These are the new technology that always constantly interior designer have to be learned and new developed, because we just wanted to be just cannot stay in 1998 when I was starting project to constantly evolve, and our business is constantly learn. So this is something that I'm doing something very new. These are the clients that deciding. We have a lot of colors and a lot of more fun, cutting edge designs. Completely different project, the Richland, Michigan residence. I started with 2 houses in older home. The client decided to be life stage change, and they decided to go into 2 houses making a 1 big building. And then we just involving to the designs, not only the interiors, we'll make a decision for the exterior space as well. Now that you could have the architect in Michigan, we work together as the bubble diagrams. How are you gonna get to the space plan works? How are you gonna be this space going to be? Then while you're executing these designs, you have all this construction at the site as well. So after these bubble diagrams, I will come to the space planning and then detailed drawings. I will execute it because of such a long distance project. Again, I needed to be much more, no question from the site, and then make sure that everything is executed. Of course, everything is always have something from the site. You get a phone calls, mishap happens, and we have to be problem solving as well. So these are the elements. This is a very different, unique approach. Was a very basic cottage, Michigan cottage home. That's what that's not they wanted to looking for. They want to be something asking me to put in Satomi, your signature, put in this space. So all the reflection to the clients, the needs and the requirements, I put in a little bit different arts and craft into these structures. This seating, it's giving me a little bit more the image of the Japanese designs. So these are the project. I just wanted to go through. Each project is very different and challenging, but I have a lot of international clients. These clients are coming from China, And he asked me, I do need to be getting this project while I was in China. So please, execute everything. So from design to the management skills, everything that I needed to be executed without client. Basically, I was doing a project via virtual world, and then I was able to execute these designs. Next project, this client is purchasing a New York penthouse. And then again, they are from Russia. They are all those living in New Jersey. And they were talking to me to do the gut renovations. My project is to be one room makeover to the entire unit and floor, renovation to new constructions. This project was a gut renovations for this space. What it is very much of a historic site. So I decided to just keeping this existing brick wall in the 1940s. Rest of the stuff that I use in as much as possible to keep structure of the buildings. And then I just updated the modern the way they wanted to be approached. This project is in New York in the Fifth Avenue. This project is a very unique project. This is another client from Hong Kong and Sri Lanka. They have a different culture and background and history. They purchased the iron paste buildings and they asked me to decorate. They are only on the smaller size of the scales in the New York apartment and then multifunction space. So I created the way they wanted to be multifunctions, the dining rooms in there, kitchens, TVs, bookcases, everything in one space. My key element of design is typically very neutral approach with a very much of an accent of colors and textures. I love the lighting designs. Lighting is one of the key elements for my design, and also the textures, as you can see. This project is very much of interesting, much different the design from my past project. This client is in Short Hill, New Jersey. They are not afraid. They just wanted to ask me to do them all. Patterns of the paisley, patterns for the rugs, everything is just executing by the colors. This project was a New York project that I have very much enjoy because the client was really into the Japanese designs, and I was able to use the Japanese method of Ma, which is meaning is that the negative space and also the positive space to be enhanced the space. I do the design constructions also till the end, design and styling as well. This is just more toward the end of my presentations. Current progress in 2021. I just signed up at the Brooklyn, New York project. And also this is, I wanted to share you, while in the COVID times, I was able to manage to executing design in Asia, Japan. If you know that some of them in Japan, Japan is in, Asia is in Kobe. So it's kind of central to the south part of Japan. And I'm just working on this project via internet. Now that I'm just doing much different challenging, manufacturing, and I'm designing the lighting fixtures and furniture designs and have our own branding now. These are the teams that are always in the support. These are some of the publications and media appearances I did in Japan. So this is my end of a presentation today.
Thank you so much, Satomi. That was beautiful. I love the different styles that you had throughout your work. It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So thank you so much to our distinguished panels. You were wonderful. So now we're just going to open the floor up for questions. We have been flooded. At first, I was a little concerned we didn't have any, and now we have quite a few. I'm going to start off with one that I thought it kind of intrigued me. And I think this is open to all of the panelists. What have you found to be the most challenging aspect of your career on the business side as well as the design side? Any of you? You want to start, Satomi?
Okay.
Yeah.
Design side is, I have already a little bit of a talk about it. Because no matter how beautiful design you executed, no matter how thinking about code and then technical skills, but in the end, the client values and the vision is very different, then I cannot execute it. Good example is that, we try to be designs or something, but their visions and they don't trust us. No matter how beautiful design I will do, they don't trust us. So the trust and earning a trust and then, understanding what they want is sometimes a little bit different. So those are the design challenge that sometimes I have. If client, they have to be very mutually trust each other's.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Alan, would you like to chime in?
Sure. Hey there. The design, the creative side of it, and the business side of it, they are very different, but they obviously have to go hand in hand. The world is very smart. Well, the people who are hiring us, we're going to assume are quite smart. When I came into the industry, I think there was a lot of gray area. The way the industry was invoicing, and there were a lot of assumptions that it was all in the up and up. And that kind of blew up the way that more when people had more access for good reason. And it's people's money. It's their disposable income. And it's not just their aspirations in design. This is their disposable income. You have to be very respectful of that. And there are also many ways that people are going to dig in and find out, are you honest? If you're honest, if you're not honest, of course, if there's the perception of dishonesty, you're all sunk. And so at a certain time, I made it very clear, and we worked very hard on creating systems so we're absolutely transparent. That secrecy disappears. Our clients can call us up. They can ask for a to-date version of what the monies that are outstanding, the timelines, and so on. And that is a lot of work. And I'm very grateful that I have people here who really handle that. It is business top and bottom. But I won't have any clients if they don't trust me.
How do you earn their trust?
How have you earned your clients' trust? What actions do I take? Well, I think I covered a bit of this. This is a question here. To be very upfront, to ask clients and encourage my clients to communicate. I have to say, I left out earlier, like any relationship, communication is at the very forefront. If they're concerned, or if we're concerned, let's pick up the phone. Once that little bug gets under, it can fester and it can blow up a relationship. So I would say to gain the client's respect and trust is to put it out there at the very front. This is a relationship, and sometimes relationships have to change and have to be updated. And we don't want to so talk, be upfront, be transparent. Ask them if they're feeling well about this and what else can we do for you if they're not. So that's how I gain trust and hopefully maintain it.
Danielle, can you chime in? What is the most challenging aspects of the design side and the business side?
Yes, three things came to mind, and I'll be very quick. But basically, the first thing that I think is very important to have a good contract and to outline everything in that contract. That's been, an ongoing thing. I'm constantly revamping it based on maybe the project. Each project is different. Each way I work with clients sometimes is different. So that's something that we're continually working on. The second thing is, how you work. There's designers work in all different ways. Some are a combo fee, some are a flat fee. This is an ongoing problem in the industry because clients call you up and they're like, well, this designer doesn't work that way, or this designer doesn't work. And so you're constantly being compared, and that's difficult, especially when you're like a design firm, you have more overhead. So maybe we are more than like a sole designer. So just comparing. And then the last thing I would say is the difficult thing I find is, let's say I get called for a consultation and I go and, I walk in and it just happened to me. So the wife's like, my husband thinks I could do this myself. So that's like a bad sign, right? Because you don't want to be involved in like a job where like the husband doesn't really value your expertise. Obviously, he thinks his wife can be doing this job by herself. So those are like a few things that just come up that are just problems.
Yeah. How are you managing your business now in the time of COVID? Things have really changed how we're doing business. So how are you managing running your business with your clients in this time of COVID?
Me?
Yeah, Danielle.
Okay, yes. Well, the interesting thing, and I think a lot of designers find this, is we've been busier than ever since March. And really for me, it's difficult managing my entire office because we're not all there. So maybe 2 people are in 3 days. I've broken up the schedule. The hardest thing is the manufacturers. The manufacturers are not producing as fast as they could. Some of the clients are patient with it, understanding we're in the middle of a pandemic. Others just, you want to just quit them every day because they keep asking. And I'm like, what do you not get about what's going on in the world? But it's just something that's going on in life. So hopefully everything will get better. Right now, it's just difficult to get product and to get services done. And, everyone is backlogged and we're all, I think, very busy right now because people are spending their money in their homes. They can't travel. None of my clients' kids went to camp. So they are very interested in making their homes their oasis, right?
Yeah.
So we're busy, but it's difficult to get the jobs done.
We just got a great question here. What would you say to students who think residential design isn't as sexy as commercial design? Alan, you want to take that?
Oh, well, I'd have to say, as a residential designer, I think it's a personal choice. And I wouldn't go so far as to tell somebody else that commercial design is sexy, not sexy. Where your heart lies, follow that path. I find what I do is very personality driven, and my clients, and to meet those things that they aspire to and actually exceed what they feel they're going to get from this. Is that sexy? I don't know. I just gravitate to what you do. If you find institutional work sexy, be the best at it. So I don't feel the need to defend one or the other. If you choose a path, choose it because that's where your heart is, sexy or not. If you choose a path that's based on money, for instance, put your back into it. If you choose a profession because you want to travel, put your back into it. So sexy, not whatever, choose your adjective, just believe in it, live it, and be the best you possibly can be at it.
Sure. We have another question. So Tommy, I'll pose that to you. Can you share an example when you did not take a job? Satomi?
Yeah, it's not to take a job.
Yeah, is there an example when you did not take a job?
Okay, when I just getting, it's a job is the, for instance, they have a client is for instance, if they will make a phone call to us, and then they said, well, I have so much of ideas and so much of the expectations. And then when you turn around and they said, I don't have a budget for it. So it's sometimes it's not only budget, how you execute it, and we can help you. But if you don't want to spend it and any money, then it just be problems. I think because of we are able to, as a professional visions, and try to be using a design as a very smart way to be great investment in the times and the money. But also if they don't understand and they're just coming from just straight from money, meaning it's a budget, that's very difficult client for us.
Alan, do you have some thoughts on turning down a job?
Tammy, I have thoughts on everything, so let me take this one too. What a silly question. No, I do, and I actually tapped you to put this to voice. Is, one of the things, and Danielle, sort of glanced on this too, is listen to your clients during these interviews. You can tell so much about who they're going to be. And now I'll use an example of couples, put many couple here. Listen how they communicate. Listen how they communicate to each other. The example Danielle gave of somebody coming and feeling that his wife and that kids could do the job. Well, bingo, you're out, because I don't have time to educate you, not with you have that, I do not want a client, even though we have to take some of this. I don't want an adversarial relationship. One of the things that I emphasize, and hopefully the ears are open to this, is that I am your collaborator. I'm here on your side. I'm not in competition with you. And that's one of the things that if you can get a sense of who these people are, sometimes a great job can be awful because they're gonna run you through the ringer, and it isn't a great job. And so I've turned down clients, and I've had clients that have revealed themselves to really be tough clients, and it's tough to, and sometimes there's a great relief in firing people too. So it can happen.
How can you turn down a job professionally in a professional way so that you can keep a good relationship?
Well, in some cases, there's no relationship to salvage. So I don't want a bad reputation. I don't come on strong and do something out of disrespect or disrespectfully. So, and if there's a relationship with somebody, or for instance, I might know may need to maintain a relationship, well, then, you need to know who you're speaking with. And again, it's communication, it's honesty, but it's also respect, and sometimes you need to sidestep. We have too much work to take on a new project or what have you. There's some key references there. We get them from clients too. They interview us. And one of the common things that come back to is, well, we've decided to take a different direction, which means you're not hired. So, there's some key things you can say. And sometimes no is just no. And I'll block them.
Danielle, can I ask you, how do you bid on a project? How do you anticipate your time for a project?
Well, it really depends on the project, but like part of our process is, meeting with the client and then creating a scope. So a lot of my pricing out a job is creating the scope for the client. So if we're working on, let's say, a family room, and just from seeing that room, I'll know how many pieces they're going to need in that room, and I could gauge, how long I think it's going to take me to pick out all those pieces, and that's how I come up with my design fee. And then we've done this so many times now, we even have formulas like we say like an average family room is this much based on, 10 to 15 pieces of furniture. So I've been able to create like formulas. So now I could really tell people around how much the room will cost finished.
Okay. Let's see, we've got quite a few questions.
Tammy, I saw a good question. It looks like it was for all the speakers.
Okay.
How do you get your name out there? Like, what's the best advice for getting your name out there when you're just coming out of school? So Tomi, do you want to take that one to start off?
Yes, I've been always doing this. My name is out is the on SNS and online. I have always been able to, marketing myself, not the marketing, but putting my website and proper website and putting my name out on through the online now. And then of course, if you have a client, then referral basis, somebody say, the vendors or the neighbors or the referral basis count as well. But out of schools, I think it's just to have a visually make a presence on online is very important. And also getting to know a lot of industry people as well. so that they can defer to people's, maybe they are looking for certain criterias. Looking for job is the same as too. You're just always looking for opportunity, then go to maybe one of the showrooms and find out maybe that some of the designers might be looking for some people's, because the industry people is very connected and talk about it. So I think that's great too. But I always do, because I do a lot international project, so I have to have a good presentation skills and website and online now.
Danielle, can you chime in on that question? How do you get your name out there?
Yeah, so, for me, it all happened from referral base. But I also think, just going to like the D&D when I was younger and speaking to the reps and just getting to know a lot of people. I was really a people person. I think the more people you speak to, the better. And really important when you're in school, like make the good contacts with like your other students and your professors, and like those will be lifelong relationships for you, just, and join ASID, join organizations where there's other people that will get to know your name.
Yeah. What advice can you give for managing a family and a design career?
Gosh, there's no management. It's hard. It's never, listen, there's no balance. There's no balance. It's some days are 80-20, some days are horrible, but you know what? Like, as long as they support you and they know you're doing what you love, you just make it work. You get, I needed to hire help. You have to just like bite the bullet and say, I can't do everything. And for me, that's something I learned along the way. Whether it's your business or your personal life, you need to get help. Everyone needs support. It takes a village. And I believe in that. And everyone can't do everything themselves.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're doing everything kind of not 100%, right?
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end of our session. I'd like for each of you to just give some advice to the students who are here, who are turning into fabulous future designers. What would be your best piece of advice for them?
My best. Ooh,
You're unmuted already.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, I wasn't ready to answer this. My best piece of advice. Well, I mean, I think put your best foot forward. God, there's been some great advice throughout this, and I think that if anyone who's getting into the business, and hopefully you've taken some notes, take away from this. So, what is my best advice? Be who you are. And then if it takes work to be ambitious and put your back into it. But people are really drawn to people, and I feel that sometimes talent becomes less important. And I mean, that's not the right thing to say, but you want to be part of a community and part of a team. And I think that's the advice is, really to do your best to learn what you can do. That's what I said earlier. That grunt work that people talk so poorly about. Turn your thinking around about that. You're making yourself essential to the business and essential to your clients and essential to the people who work for you. So that I guess I will stick with that.
So tell me, what would be your best piece of advice for future designers?
I think it's just have a very good life experience, whether everyday life, enjoy, looking at lots of stimulating ideas. Your, everyday lifestyle is going to be inspire you. So I think it's that, have a passions in the life, passions being yourself. I think just Alan was saying, be yourselves, try some things that you haven't then explore. Don't be afraid to be fails. Everything is just going to be, in the end, it's just going to be something that happens in okay. So I think it's explore, try hard. And I think that's what my advice.
Danielle, what would be your best advice to future designers?
So many things I'd want to say. I guess one of the things that I think is really, really important is communication. I think, with this day and age, everything's different. Like, it's very hard, I think, for a lot of young people when they're working in office to pick up a phone. Everyone's emailing and texting. And then I think things get lost in translation. And so very often, I just think to get the job done, you pick up the phone. So I'm all about communication, be a really good communicator, and be an excellent listener. like whether it's your client or your boss or, you know, I think those are the two important things for me.
Great,
I want
great.
to throw one more thing into this, because I think everyone will agree. Say yes. Say yes to, say yes. You want to, we're not above it. We're not above picking that thing up and running to a client. We're not above, going into the storage room and doing grunt work. Say yes. And don't even give that side eye. That's going to be really important because we're listening and we don't want, we don't have to like pander. Anyway, say yes.
Okay, great. I have a slew of notes here. I don't know if you can see them, but I have so many takeaways. First and foremost, my biggest takeaway from this session is design is a business. 10% design, 90% business. I love that, Danielle. I'm going to put that on my wall. Another good takeaway: be yourself. Develop a good team because you can't do this alone. Develop your technical skills so that you can translate your ideas to your clients, and develop smart home technologies, as Satomi mentioned. And when the clients trust your vision, they will become repeat clients. So
Perfect.
thank you so much, everyone. You were wonderful. We have a request if you could put your information in the chat so that everyone who would like to follow you on Instagram or go to your website or reach out to you for some advice, they can do so. So please put your information in the chat.
Perfect. So I just want to say, I want to say
Tammy,
thank you.
Tammy, can you please repeat that last quote, please?
What's
That you
that?
said?
Oh, when the client trusts your vision, they will become repeat clients.
That is true. Yes. So huge thank you to Tammy for being an awesome moderator tonight. And then major thank you to Alan, Danielle, and Satomi. It was fantastic. Just the buzz that was happening in the chat box alone shows you how much people were responding to what you all were presenting tonight. And that was awesome. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to say also thank you to we must thank our sponsors who make all of this happen. So our gold sponsors for the ASID New Jersey chapter are Sherwin-Williams Paint Company, Design MJ Magazine, and then our silver sponsor is Benjamin Moore Paints. So thank you to our sponsors and to the participants tonight. I'm just going to turn it over to Terry Fiore, the president of the ASID New Jersey chapter, for a couple of words before we close the evening.
Okay, that was amazing. Thank you, Alan, Danielle, and Satomi. It was awesome. I want to say that my takeaway, and I think the common thread, was to trust your vision and your decisions. And I just think that is key in any designer's life or in life in general. So thank you for coming. This was a great presentation. Appreciate everyone's time. And we will see you tomorrow.
Yes, final day.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Tammy.
Bye.